Hi, I'm Tracey L. Fisher. This is Community Talk, and we're sitting here with Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell. Hi, how are you?
Just fine. Pleasure to be with you, Tracey.
It's an honor to be here. As you know, I am an ex-offender, and before I was released, they had an article in the Daily News on all of the council men and women in the city hall. And I haven't met any of them at the time, but I took and wrote a letter, a bullet plate letter, and I sent out the letter to each councilman and woman. And when I sent it out to them, the only one responded was Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell. And when she responded, she said, "Come see me when you get out." And that was over 3 years ago. I'm home. I came into her office, and when I came into her office, we sat and ate Christmas cookies and drank water. And I told her what I was about, what I want to do, and she looked at me like I was crazy. I said, "I'm telling you, Councilwoman, this is going to be my city, and I ain't running for nothing. This is what I'm going to do." She's like, "Okay." But she always supported me. She always been there for me. My first show I ever put on was a all-women show, and it was called Let Go So You Can Hold On. And she helped sponsor it for me, and I appreciate that. And now we actually putting the second one on, and she'll be there as well. But I want to thank you for supporting me. See, I don't start a lot of interviews off like that, but I have to let them know whom I'm interviewing. And I want to thank you for being there for me, because when an individual come home for being incarcerated, he or she is looking for anyone to believe in them.
Yes.
Even though they believe in themselves, but they're looking for anyone else to say, "You know what? I see what you're trying to do. And if I can help you, I'll help you." And that meant a lot to me. So I just want to thank you for being on the show. So actually, how long have you been a councilman?
Well, I succeeded the late and great Lucian Blackwell in 1992. I'm running for my 7th four-year term, and I worked for him before that. In fact, he and I were the first couple in this country ever elected on the same day when he went to the U.S. Congress, and I succeeded him in council back in January 1992.
Wow.
So I've been around a long time. This is my mission. It's what I'm meant to do. And I thank God for the privilege of public service. I care about people, and it's what keeps me motivated and going. And when you came that day, we spent a long time talking.
Yes, we did.
And I could see that you were motivated, that you were committed to making a difference, as you still are. And I remember at the end of our meeting, I said, "You know, I have a gentleman downstairs I want you to meet and introduce you to a male community organization."
Yes.
Southwest Philadelphia District Service in Southwest Philadelphia, and you're still a part of that.
And they're doing a great job, and I'm about to be head of their reentry for Southwest District Service. I'm going to make sure that get on the map, because they're doing an excellent job. But I also would like to know, what is one of the most important things that your late great husband taught you as far as politics that you live by today?
He taught me, I believe that we are all a committee of one. And if we want to make the world better, we have to commit ourselves to doing that. And, you know, I assumed my commitment to homelessness, that's first in my life. I got that from Lucian Blackwell. Lucian Blackwell caused the city to create a homeless department. All that happens now, and all the funding we have, federal, state, local, and beyond, come because Lucian Blackwell started that. And so that is one of the important programs he started. And he taught me that you have to deal with it now. When somebody comes in my office, I get on the phone and make a call immediately. Because, you know, it's so important, and you have to take every problem seriously. We've had people who said they were going to commit suicide. We've had people who said they're living in inhumane conditions, people who said they're being abused, and we act on all of it because you never know when that desperate time comes. And so he taught me many things, and that's another one of them, which is you have to deal with things now and immediately, and you have to help people, even though we have to do big programs, because most of my legislation comes from what I see in the community. Since I work 7 days, we still have people who come in here one by one, and you have to treat everybody the same, no matter whether they're president of the country, or whether they're a homeless person on the street. So we have to love everybody. God made us all, and we have to realize we have to help everyone and treat everyone the same.
Wow, because even as a child, I'd heard of Mr. Blackwell before I was even conscious of community. But I heard of him before because I used to love the box, so I was definitely going to win. But what I would like to ask you this question. If you was able to be given 10 minutes with the great late Mr. Blackwell, and you had to ask him 2 questions about this, how the state of politics is today, and asking his advice or venting or whatever, what would be the 2 questions you would like to ask him?
Well, if I could talk to Lucian today, I'd ask him how I could get more results from inclusion in the city, whether it be the universities, whether it be the city in this 4601 Market Project, or Penn or Drexel, and I represent them as well as USP, how I could convince people that they have to do more inclusion in terms of people in the communities who need jobs, who need careers, who need positions, and who deserve more consideration. That's the first question, because he started, John Macklin worked for the city and gave him the information, and he started the first, when he found out then that minorities were getting less than 1/10 of 1%, and we're not getting a lot now. But he started the first set-aside, they called it in those days, bill that said that on every project, blacks had to get their share, and minorities and women. And so I would ask him, this is 2015, how do I upgrade that? How do I make it better? And what is your advice on what I should do to make sure communities included? And I'd also like to ask him how he thinks I'm doing, you know, maintaining, trying to follow on with his commitment and with how he started, and how, if he thinks I'm following on his agenda in a positive manner. Everything from boxing, because you know we have the Lucian Blackwell boxing tournament. And I have a Cyclone Hart son's belt hanging on my wall now, because he's going to be, he's #1 challenger now. And I'd like to ask him if there's anything he can think of, any new program, because we're at the point now where we have to have a new vision. This is 2015, so we can't just look at the past, work on inclusion, but we have to also say, how do we make the world better? Does he have any ideas on education, for example? I'm chair of the Housing Committee, Housing, Neighbor Development, and Homeless, but I'm also chair of the Education Committee. And our children are in trouble. Our youngsters are dropping out, a lot of them at the 50% range. And I'd like his advice on ideas he might have on education as well. So those would be my 2 questions and my 1 issue.
One of the greatest compliments I have ever received was from an individual that said I reminded them of Mr. Blackwell as far as my passion for the community.
Yes.
And that was a heck of a compliment, because I know what he brings to the community, and his legacy and his what you call essence and fingerprints is still here. So we understand that.
Thank you. And I am so I've been here all these years since, and I still have people who come up to me and say, I'm sorry about your husband. And I still feel that all he's done, I'm striving to do my best, but I still think he was a better legislator and a stronger leader. And times were different, I understand, because when he was here, he was involved with various people. I have on the wall, in fact, a picture with him and Nelson Mandela. He was involved in that whole issue. But I still think that he has accomplished the level of respect. People love me, but I think they love Lucian more. So I'm still aiming to be all that I can be, to maybe try to equal his accomplishments.
Wow, those are some big shoes.
Yes, right. They're big shoes.
Yes,
so
yes,
I can't fill them, but I'm trying.
Right, and one thing I would ask him, if being an activist in the community, I would ask him, how do you, how did he separate personal,
Yes.
business? Because it's intertwined to the point where sometimes your personality want to come out at a situation because it's not going the way you want it to go, but you still have to be humble and committed to the mission. But it's a big challenge when you see someone lagging and not doing what they should be doing, but then they say to the people that believes in them that they're doing it, when you know they're not doing it. And you sitting here because you have to have a certain persona and a certain statue of yourself because you're representing the community, not just yourself. And it'll become real personal when you lash out like that. And I wanted to ask him, how did he keep his composure? And it's because there's times he done got out there, but it's times where he had to sit back and say, okay, that might have to be a backroom talk right there, you know. And that's one of the things I come across, but I don't have anyone that I really can go to like that because everybody's busy. I understand that, to go to and say, you know what, how do I handle this situation right here?
Yes.
You know, where they've been through it, so they know the trappings, so where they can say, well, look, Tracey, this is what you need to do. This is how it needs to be done. And that's what I don't have.
And he loved it. He loved mentoring young people. He would love to have you come in this very office and talk to you and give you the wisdom of his experience and advice. He would love it if he were here to do that. He would love it.
Now, how do you feel about ex-offenders returning back to society?
Oh, I think that ex-offenders and even vets are people who don't get the consideration they deserve. They need to be first when it comes to, and given an opportunity for job training, job placement, housing. I believe that ex-offenders and even homeless people should have this First Keys program. We have it on a wider scale, and they're trying to use it for vets, where you get a place to live, and even if you don't know how to take care of the money you get your place. They help you this, and government helps you manage your money so that you learn how to stay in first. We're learning in this system that you can't wait until people have all job training and they have they know where they live, they have everything together before you give them services. You have to give them services up front and train them to maintain those services if they're to be successful, stable people. Ex-offenders need that. They need to respect. They need a chance. They need a chance as soon as they put on the form. Even if I know what we did in the city in terms of writing it firsthand on a form. But as soon as they find out you're an ex-offender, the system, those who hire you, then they want to let you go, or they don't want to give you the opportunity. Here in City Hall, I've always had, they finally changed it a few years ago, not under Darrell, under the former president. I always had an ex-offender because I believe we as a people have to try to do our part to help ex-offenders and to help people from our community. So I always had an ex-offender, and but if we don't understand that we have to help one another, and that the ex-offenders come back to our community because they come back to the community from whence they left, then we're in big trouble. But so we have to give them a chance, and sometimes you have to give them a chance first.
Right.
There's so many of them. There's so many people returning home, thank God, and there's so many people who should be home.
Right, that's not.
That aren't home, that we have to do what we can to give them a chance. It's a shame because the ex-offender who comes home has to work 2 and 3 jobs just to try to make a minimum and a minimal living. And but we've got to find a way to give them chances. Unfortunately, too often they're tied into the ex-offender community narrowly instead of the full community, because so often people won't give them a chance. Thank God for you, Tracey, all that you're doing. And thank God for all the programs that you initiate and support.
Yes, because in the city of Philadelphia, a lot of people's not aware of that there's over 300,000 plus ex-offenders, and combined with the state, the county, and the feds, 2,500 come home a month. And now we are aware of voters' rights and so forth, so we're creating a voters' block just so we can be taken serious. the same structure the Tea Party did and any other party came, even the gay, lesbian rights and so forth. The ex-offenders now are under one umbrella, and well, we're trying to get under one umbrella, and we're trying to become a voters block. So when there's a president running, there's a governor running, a mayor running, that they have to pay attention to us. They have to, and that comes from being educated. That comes from individuals such as yourself supporting this, because your name carry a lot of weight. Most people don't realize how much weight their name carry, because especially if you don't have larceny in your heart and you just want to just do what's right, then people love you because that's what you generate and that's what you get back, and that carries a lot of weight, because that's when God takes over. And that's when he puts you in a situation where you might think things is not going the way you wanted to go, but if you want to tell God, make him laugh, tell him your plan. He got the best plan in the world, because I thought I was done. When they gave me all that time, I'll tell you, Councilwoman, I thought I was done. I said, oh, are you serious? Really? How did I get myself into this? But I didn't even realize this was me going to school of hard knocks. I was learning at the knees of doctors, lawyers, senators, judges, people like that, businessmen. So when I came home, I was able to come and converse with them. I understood, I read what they read, I learned what they learned, I spoke how they spoke. So, but I also had the language of my community, where I can now take what you're trying to teach them, but give it to them in their language, so they can comprehend it and move forward. That's what I see in you when it comes to being a council person. I laugh and joke with the other individuals that's running for office. I said, see how Jannie's just laid back? I said, because she's running every day she's in office. She's not running when it's time for election. So when they see her, they're accustomed to seeing her. So they, oh, Jannie, how you doing? No problem. What you need? This is what I need. This is what I'm going to do. So anyone, this is the word on the street, anyone that will run against Jannie is wasting time and money. Really they are, because we love you as a whole. And it's people from different districts, not even in your district. But even if they could come over and vote for you, they would. And that's politics. That's remembering who put you there. And that's what a lot of individuals don't get. You have an event, and people will show up that never stepped foot in the community in the first place. And then they asking you in a 2 or 3 minute speech to believe in me, to vote in me. But my situation is this, which everyone else is. Who are you? What are you talking about? And that's what we're talking about. So with you running, after you win, what are one of the things you want to do something different in the community?
Well, I want to work on this vision to expand the First Keys program for ex-offenders, for homeless people, and for vets. And we have on the ballot, those questions are my questions, to change the charter to create a pre-K, before kindergarten commission, and also to change this SRC, or School Reform Commission, have a local school board. So I'm fighting an education for those changes. We need standardized curriculum and standardized education across the board. You shouldn't be afraid to go to a neighborhood school knowing you won't get the books and education somebody does in another neighborhood. So that's one of the areas where I'm focusing. And I'm also focusing on, as I said, inclusion, more jobs, more opportunities in our community, and I'm focusing on getting the universities to fund and to allow for supplementing the nurses program and counselors programs in all the schools in West Philadelphia. A child shouldn't die because they have asthma and can't get access to a nurse. And so we want them to use their interns, their students, to help us to see in the nursing, help to complement nurses, and also counseling, and we think we can do it. And while we're talking, I also want to say we hope, and I'm sure you know, that all those ex-offenders who can, or those who are locked up, and if it's not a felony, that they'll make sure they register.
Yes, that's one of the things. I actually go to the jails and speak about that.
Yes. And
they actually come home to my program.
Very important.
A lot of people don't know that you're an educator.
Yes.
So that's your passion as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm chair of both those committees because that's where my heart is.
Wow.
We have to educate our children, and we have to make sure that everybody has a right to this tree of life in this city, everybody has a decent place to live and a place where they can lie down at night and not be afraid, and where they can eat decent food. And we thank all those who join in this commitment to the community.
Is there anything else you want to say to my audience as far as how to get in touch with you or your communities, whatever?
Absolutely. I go from 30th Street, 30th and Market, all the way up to the end of Cobb Street where Upper Darby starts, and all the way over to Southwest. I go all the way down to the zoo, and I represent more meds and eds. The medical institutions being CHOP and Penn and Presbyterian and Misericordia, and the educational institutions like Drexel, Penn, and University of the Sciences. So I have a great area with much to serve, and but I invite anyone with a problem, call us. I'm at 215-686-3418 or 215-686-3419, and I'm here where I've been for many, many years, room 408 City Hall. We welcome you, we love you. It's not only our responsibility, but it is our pleasure, our joy to serve you.
Wow, and I'm Tracey L. Fisher, Community Talk. There you have it. Thank you.